Yes. Yep. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Lovebabz, Lovetalk. I'm Babz Rawls Ivy. And today, this is the second part of my Friday where I do all this talking and no music. I have CEO Trish Karter of Chabaso.
Hey, hi.
How are you?
I'm terrific. It's
And
really
now
fun to
Chabaso
be
is
here.
our own homegrown business.
Backyard. Yep,
Yes, it's like right here.
Yeah.
And it's a bakery.
We're a big bakery.
And they do some of the most beautiful
Best ciabattas
in the world.
Yeah. All of our breads are really long fermentation and old world method. And we didn't cut corners when we got bigger.
And now tell me about the name Chabaso.
Charles Nagaro founded the Atticus Bookstore Cafe.
With that good black bean soup.
That great food and the famous black bean soup. And that was 42 years ago, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he wanted to serve people great food and beautiful bread, and he'd been in Europe and he knew what it looked like, but you couldn't get it here in the food service world. There wasn't somebody that would ship you fabulous bread. That was before the artisan revolution, which he was really a part of. So
really, the architect of that, right? The beginning of that.
Absolutely on the ground floor. And he found some terrific Yale School of Art students who were also interested in bread, and they came in and started baking. It's a weird
I didn't know this
combination.
story.
Yeah.
This is a good story.
They had a little commissary over one of their, I can't remember exactly what the location was in New Haven, but just, they just started baking, and one thing led to another, and eventually it turned into a wholesale baking company in addition to supplying Atticus with great bread. So the name Chabaso was Charles's idea. He wanted this to be a family company, and he named it after his three children, Charlie, Sophia, and wait, I got it wrong. Charlie, Sophia, and oh my God, I'm having it on the radio senior moment.
That's all right.
It's gonna come back to me in 2 seconds.
Don't worry.
And the family's gonna shoot me.
No, they won't
It's not
shoot
like
you.
I don't know all these
You
names.
are their CEO. They need you. They didn't hire you to remember the names.
I remember their names. I know them all really well. Why am I having a moment? But
How long
anyway,
have you been with Chabaso?
a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you come as the CEO or did you rise up through the ranks?
I came down just to help out with some marketing issues and opportunities, just as a consultant. And I was living in Boston, and I just wrapped up another business venture that I'd started and gotten rolling and was moving. Wasn't sure what I was going to do next, looking for my next big thing. And my sister, Lyd Karter, actually, who lives in Old Lyme, knew Charlie and knew that they had a terrific brand and potential to grow, and that he was thinking about how to take the next step. And so I did some work, and then they asked me to just take the whole thing on.
Really? And you said, did you think about it, or did you say?
No, I thought about it. I've been in Boston for 30 years, and deep roots there. But I love this company. And
well, Trish, some people say that New Haven is like a mini Boston.
It is
in a compact kind of way.
It's vibrant, and there are interesting people, and there's arts, and obviously great institutions of learning, and not just Yale. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place, and there's food, and
yes, we have become quite the food capital.
There are people with ideas here, and this is a beautiful place to be. I love the shoreline, and I'm from Old Lyme, so it actually felt like coming home, and the place itself, Chabaso, the people that work there, the 130 bakers that come to work every day.
And the bakery is in the Hill, isn't it?
No, it's on State Street.
State Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stone's throw from here.
Yes.
So as I was saying, they are just wonderful, wonderful people, and a lot of them have been there for 20 years. It's a very loyal, passionate group. They know bread. They love it. They love Charles and each other. And they needed help. They wanted to take this to another level,
Mhm.
and so they're into it,
Okay.
and they're willing to change
Oh,
and
that,
learn and grow.
that's quite innovative, because sometimes you find family-owned businesses and they stay stuck in a mold, right?
Change hurts.
Yeah, and it's hard to get
hard.
everybody on one page because you want to stay true to the old ways, and you don't want to lose that authenticity, and so no one moves up or down.
That's right. Well, we all are like that a little bit in our lives, aren't we? We get
Yes.
comfortable with what we know. We kind of know we need to take another leap, but getting ready to do that and then jumping is hard. So totally understandable, and it's great to bring in some fresh blood when you're going to do something like that. And I've been in the baking business for too long to admit, and food, and I actually like chaos and change and
really
stretching and growing, and I get bored easily. So this was perfect formula for me. It was really an opportunity to rethink everything, but take it. The core there was a group of really, really good-hearted, talented, dedicated, passionate, hardworking people, and beautiful bread. They Chabaso is always made.
It's the box that you brought, which is beautifully packaged. Like I'm a package person.
Oh, me too.
I like the way things look before I even get to it. Yes,
presentation. Yeah, so important. So that's our new gift line. We just launched it last month.
I know. I got this. So when I got the press release, I was intrigued by it, because I was like, oh, because in my mind, I'm just thinking you were already there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, because
well,
I think everybody is doing some sort of thing like that. So when I read it, I was like, oh, I would like. And then when I found out that it was you as the CEO, like a woman running this thing, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to know her. I want to talk to her and see what that story is about. So. All right, so talk a little bit about this change and this new packaging and this new delivery of bread.
Yeah, there's so many things. So the packaging, we renovated the brand look and feel, and it's now a little more streamlined, tad more modern, more visual, more colorful, more fun, and it lends itself better to the packaging that we envisioned as we grow. And that was a really big project. It's still Chabaso, but it just has a really very different look. So people have to get on the
But that's
website.
a good thing, though, right? Like, that's a nice thing to sort of change, add some more dimension and modernness to it. And
yeah, we needed to be able to do it, to clean it up. And for instance, the old logo, just at a technical level, for people that are into design might understand that it was inside. The name Chabaso was inside an oval, so that really limits what you can do with the name, because to get Chabaso big, you have to have this enormous oval, and you can't turn it on its side.
Right.
Just
right.
That's simple things. So if you have this great big long ciabatta, which we do, you have the little tiny.
Oh,
logo,
I see. Yes.
And nobody can really see. Oh, you've got look at you there.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
nice.
that's
Thank you, Harry.
Let's see. Show some of the colors. I don't have a purple one in here. We have 4 core colors, but yeah, that's the those are 3 of our ciabattas, and it looks so typical
earthy.
So those are back to the design concepts. All those colors are really edible,
I like that.
And they're very natural, and they come from the earth, and they relate to our ingredients and our flavor profiles, and they're generally we put everything that's sweet in a purple packaging, or has a little bit of sweetness, might have berries or something. And then grains and seeds are in another color. That's the mustard. And then things that are particularly savory, like we have an herb bread or garlic.
I know the garlic bread is in there.
Oh, the garlic bread. And the reason you said, oh my God, I can't believe you're smelling it so strongly. We roast our own garlic every day.
Really?
To make the garlic bread, which nobody does. That's just ridiculous. But anybody that's at our scale is not
roasting
not
garlic
roasting garlic
every day.
No. And so, but
That's a
that's
nice
who we
touch.
are.
But that's who you are. That's a nice touch. And that's an authentic thing because that's what you would do.
We're trying to keep it as pure as one would be baking in your own kitchen. We just do it at a way bigger scale.
Now, Trisha, do you think about in launching this new look and this whole new delivery of this bread? Do you look at your competitors, and I don't know who your competitors would be? Do you look and see what they're doing and say, you know what, I think we can do a little something different and better?
I think the first question we ask ourselves is, what's the best bread we can possibly make? You know, what tastes great, and how do we make it healthier? And also, how do we bake it more sustainably? So those are our top three. You know, it's always got to be great tasting. It's food, and part of our new set of guardrails going forward is it's got to be as healthy as it possibly can be. And what can we do to increase the protein or the phytonutrients or the antioxidants or the fiber, the grain? So the breads that we'll be bringing out and that we already have brought to market recently all have whole grain stamps, and they have more interesting ingredients that are good for you. And then we ask, what's good for everybody? What's good for the planet, for the workforce, you know, for people in the community? And we put our everything we do through those filters, and we're going through the process of becoming a benefit corporation, being certified for the quality of our practices.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's something you're not forced to do. That's something you all are just taking on as good business.
You know, this is the way I've always operated, and Charles too, without having a name for it. You know, he always had 1 foot forward on philanthropy, 1 foot forward on just making good bread and selling it. He was doing this double, triple bottom line thing
before anybody else was
nobody else had a name for it. That's the same with me. A million years ago, when I was building Dancing Deer Baking Company, which was you know, where I spent 16 years on that.
Wow.
But we just did stuff, and then one day we realized, oh, this is the thing. You know, this is social impact. But I strongly believe that A, the world would be better if everyone simply took that point of view. Of course, you know, it's not going to happen. B, it's really good for business. Stuff goes around and comes around. And the more we put out there that's positive, the more positive energy that comes back. We're a brand. People want to associate with something that's meaningful and powerfully good. I think consumers today really pay attention to that.
I think you're right. Now, do you think about when you all are laying out bread or rolling out bread? I mean, do you think about new types of bread, new ingredients?
So that was your question. Do we look at competitors and what are we thinking about? We look at it all. You know, we're always looking at the marketplace. We looking for good ideas or things that we can do better. What are consumers looking for? What are we looking for? Bread has been, you know, typically in this country, it's just been kind of white bread.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful white bread, and then there's a whole lot of not
crap.
Very, I was looking for a word.
With no
nutritional for me.
No, with no nutritional value, nothing.
Right.
Stripped of every decent thing.
Right.
And just, and it's cheap.
And yet it is this beautiful vehicle for flavor and nutrients. And also it's ancient,
Yes.
the role of bread in the center of community and conversation.
Yes. And all
family.
religious
Everybody.
tenets has some kind of bread component to it.
Yeah.
Right?
So we look at this and think, wow, we're already on the best thing. What's better? And it doesn't have to be, just all the old ideas can just go away. And people that are afraid of carbs, they can rethink that, because carbs are a good part of the diet, and
yes.
if they're balanced well, if you're packing a lot of good stuff into a slice of bread, it's an excellent part of the meal.
Yeah.
Anything in moderation, nothing to excess.
Yes.
Except for chocolate, which is one of my main food groups.
and wine sometimes. But
that's a different show, right?
That's the late night show.
Yeah.
All right, so we got this new. You're rolling out this new delivery of this bread. How people get it?
I mean, basically, our business is two parts. One, we bake, pack, and ship a whole lot of fresh bread to the tri-state area to special customers, and then the larger part of our business is baking and immediately flash freezing at minus 47 degrees, and then shipping that into customers that aren't necessarily in our backyard, but all over the East Coast. And those customers are grocery chains for the most part, specialty food stores. And they'll receive our bread and put it back in the oven for another 10 minutes and warm it up and then let it cool and then put it into packaging on their shelves. So when people are buying, and this is how the entire bread industry works, we're not any different. When artisan bread came on the scene, this is what people were doing. They're making these really beautiful breads, and then the final bake-off would be done at the store, so the consumer gets something that's truly, really fresh and wonderful, and many would argue is better than something that's
I love the artisan breads. Like, I go all the way to Whole Foods just to get artisan bread, or if I'm at Edge of the Woods, and sometimes if they carry the Chabaso, if they're out, because sometimes they are out.
We try to avoid that, but we don't totally control what happens. Once it's off our dock, we trust our customers to do it right. And most of them do a really great job.
I'm just speaking to the popularity of the bread. If you don't get in there early enough, it will fly out of there.
Yeah.
Because people like it so much.
Yeah, and when it comes out warm, I mean, it's just nothing bad. You have to come over to the bakery, do a tour, and have some bread coming out of the oven.
Oh, yeah, I will do that. You don't have to ask me twice.
I sneak down every once in a while and just do that.
I like that idea. Okay, so now this new packaging will allow you to send this bread far and wide.
This gift box thing here,
which I love this concept.
Yeah, it's fun. So people ship cookies. It's the same thing. And right now we're offering all of our existing products. And in time, and not too far distant time, we're also going to be offering our products that are in development. So experimental breads. Ooh. And they'll be like, order on this day because this is the day we're baking it and you can't have it any other day. But if you want to try this wild, like we're working with some really interesting ingredients like turmeric flower and choke berries and
turmeric flower is like
pulse
good
flowers
for inflammation, right?
Yeah, and they're delicious. They're really, and they're colorful and beautiful. So we're doing a ton of crazy exploration and experimentation right now, and we're going to start telling people when we're baking off something.
And so they can come and get it.
Yeah, sign up. Well, they will just ship them a box. We'll bake it and out the door it'll be there tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. So how do you deal with the or do you even address the allergen thing?
Well,
because so many people have allergies, right? Like so many people are gluten-free or dairy.
Yeah.
Like I have a severe dairy allergy, right? So I'm always reading labels, right? Like I'm dissecting, like,
yeah, it's so hard to be allergic. We can't do anything for people that are truly gluten sensitive. We have flour in the plant everywhere, so gluten-free manufacturers have no gluten on the premises. In terms of other things, we don't use too many allergens, but when we do, for instance, run some bread with nuts in it, let's say, then we have a very strict set of procedures that clean down the lines and remove all the allergens, and then there's quality assurance that tests the machines and make sure there are no traces of any of the allergen anywhere. Even chocolate is technically an allergen when we run chocolate bread.
Really?
Yeah, we
There's
have to do.
there's a
Oh
chocolate
yeah,
bread.
yeah. We make a wonderful chocolate boule with dark chocolate
What?
chunks in it. Yeah, it's actually one of the breads that I helped develop when I came to Chabaso. I
Are you kidding
felt there ought to
me?
be chocolate
Can
bread.
you imagine that warmed?
Well, I can imagine. More than imagine. I've eaten quite a lot of it. Warm. Yeah, it's really terrific.
So that must be exciting. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your background.
Me? Me?
Yeah, because you're a CEO of a very popular and well-to-do corporation.
Oh well, gosh. It's an honor to be here. First of all, it's a wonderful brand, and they make beautiful product. And as I said, you got to meet the people that make the bread. They're the important ones. So gosh, when I didn't ever expect to be in business. I wanted to be an artist when I grew up, and I knew that was what I was going to be. And as a kid, I was always drawing everything all the time. But I went off to college, and
Where'd you go?
Wheaton College in Norton, Mass.
Yeah.
And the art students there, they were doing all these wild experimental things and new materials and political art and drugs and sex and rock and roll. I was only 16. I'd quit high school, and I just had to go somewhere else, and I ended up there. They were very kind to take me.
You went to college at 16?
I did, because I
see. My daughter she's at that. She wants to go to college at 16.
Well, she should go if she wants to. But looking back, why didn't I spend more time doing a lot of other things? I just was impatient, and
you sound like her.
So I quit. I quit the art world because I didn't think I had any talent. All I could do was draw. And I went into more academics. And then my dad's company, he's the inventor, really, of bottle and can recycling on an industrial basis.
Really?
He's an amazing man, yeah. And he built that in Branford, Connecticut.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But at one point he went into bankruptcy, and I was still in college, so I left college and worked with him. And that sort of launched me into business. And I had fun there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's fun, turns out. There are a lot of different ways.
You said you like a little bit of chaos and a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, bankruptcy that'll do it. Yeah. But we got out of that Chapter 11, and Dad went on to build that company, and my sister joined him, Karter, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
She's also here in Connecticut, and they had plants in 9 states, and the whole industry of recycling, bottle and can recycling, was built around his technology and his models and the ways it built the systems to interact between the solid waste operators and the municipalities and the consumers. And
wow.
Put that together in a way that nobody else had done yet. So anyway, I did that, and that one thing led to another, and eventually I ended up back here after a bit of a business career at the School of Management.
At Yale?
At Yale. And I did that, and then I went off into corporate stuff and got bored and ended up wanting to build my own company, and did a technology play that failed. And
what did that failure give you?
More of what I'd already had, which is self-knowledge, just learning more about what works, what doesn't. And it's okay to fail. It's good, you know.
That's a good point. That's what I was hoping you would say.
Oh, gosh.
Because I think that's because people, I think, they won't jump out because they think there's no net.
You learn so much.
Yeah, but if you jump, your wings will come, right?
Yeah, it's nice to win every once in a while, but trying and experimenting, that's the only way to become a more interesting person, to have a broader skill set, to know what it feels like to take a risk and to evaluate them and take better ones over time. So let's see, I'm telling you my whole friggin' life story here.
Yes.
You asked me how I got here.
Yes, this is
so
how
I
you got
did that, and then at some point I realized, my life wasn't all working perfectly for me, and I was in business, and I had a tough marriage and just wasn't happy, and tried to remember what was the thing that used to make my heart sing, and I remembered it was art. And eventually so immediately I started going back to the sketch pad, and that was kind of bells rang, I realized that that's the thing I've been missing. And I spent a couple of years straddling business and art, and then eventually I quit. So then I became a painter for a solid.
Really?
I thought it would be a year. I thought I had enough money to just work at art for a year, and I wasn't trying to sell. And then I'd have to go back to making a real living. But people were interested in what I was doing, and I was able to sell my paintings. So I actually was a legit painter with galleries and commissions, and had no intention of leaving that. That was really fantastic. But my ex-husband and I invested in a baker. This is kind of a hobby investment, and he's a fantastic cook and really interested in food, and so we did this for fun, and she took off and was doing really well, but with selling her product, but running the business was more challenging. So I said, well, I'll just jump in for a few months and help you with that, and that turned into 16 years. So that was dancing deer, and we had a great time and did some really, really, really wonderful work. So no regrets. But I didn't pick up a paintbrush. I had a painting on the easel. It was actually a portrait commission for a neighbor and a friend who, between the time I started the painting and when I finally gave him a semi-finished version of it, got elected governor to Massachusetts. That was Deval Patrick.
Oh my goodness!
That kind of weighed heavily on me. That I was like, oh my God, I was the governor of painting.
He didn't change that much, so you know.
Well, it was for his daughter, Catherine, who was my daughter, and she were buddies in preschool.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So there I was off on the, I left my painting behind and got deeply into the food and the bakery business.
Mm-hmm.
And had a great run, and then that business was eventually taken over by investors, and I went off and wanted to do something more sustainable, more about healthy food. I'd been packaging sugar and fat essentially for, selling it to rich people for, it wasn't about, to the extent you could build good karma into cookies and cakes and brownies. We did that. We used the product to do good stuff in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So no apologies, really. But
mm-hmm.
my interest for the future was to do things that were more about health and wellness and continue on the course of social impact and positive. So then I came up with this idea of growing salad greens, high quality salad greens year round in New England, at a cost that would be competitive.
How do you do that? Hydroponically?
Well, that was the question. Yeah, hydroponically. But how to even, there were people that were growing hydroponically in New England, but nobody was doing it at a large scale and at a price that was competitive with the cheap supply chain out of the Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the nut to crack. How do you grind down that technology and get it to a price point? So we did that. The company's called Leaf, and we have.
I know that company.
Yeah, yeah, up in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
big operation. Yeah.
Oh, the world is so small.
Yeah, it's a small world. And those people now, Henry Huntington and the Huntington family, we built that company inside their business, which was Pleasant View Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
They were already growing ornamentals, so it was a natural jump for them to grow salad greens. And then, after that, I didn't know what my next thing was going to be, but I wanted something like that. In between, I did a bunch of other smaller gigs and worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and built a product line for Bird's Eye, and that was also in the health and wellness space. And, I had many things going. And then my sister introduced me to Charles, and that was the beginning of why I'm sitting in front of you today, and happily in New Haven, and happily working.
Are you living in New Haven? Did you move here?
I'm out in Guilford.
Okay.
I'm a country mouse.
I have a good friend who lives in Guilford. He's a New Yorker, but he lives in Guilford, and so
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I happened to get really lucky and met the owner of an old farm out there, the Leet family,
mm-hmm.
and I rent a space from him that overlooks a big marsh, and we have osprey and cows in our backyard. They grow, the Leet farm is now a grass-fed cattle operation, And it's the third oldest family farm in America.
Whoa.
And so I just feel the ancient goodness of all of that every day, and I get up and I live next to this great big red barn, and across the street a smaller barn that was built in 1700.
Wow.
The oldest standing wooden barn in Connecticut.
Really?
Yeah, which I also just love. It's
have you painted it?
thing.
Like, have you put an ESO up?
I've incorporated in some drawings and sketches, and
because that art is not going to leave you.
No, I've been getting out a little bit more, and since I moved here, I have a small body of work, and I'm not so much into painting buildings. I really like to look at the effect of light on natural settings and the atmosphere and on objects, and I like to paint landscapes and study nature. So I don't so much do paintings of buildings, but I like to draw what man does. So that when I'm with my ink and pen and ink or charcoal, then I might be drawing the barn, which I've done many times. It's just, I don't know why my brain splits that way, but it does.
That's fine. Are you married? You have kids?
I have two fabulous kids, a 29-year-old daughter.
Whoa.
And a 25-year-old son.
Wow.
They're both, in one way or another, kind of in the education business, doing great things, and happy, and I'm very proud of them. One lives in San Antonio, Texas, too far away, and my daughter lives in New York. And not married.
So tell me about this CEO life. Talk to me a little bit about, as a woman, and if that has helped or been a hindrance or a barrier or a silver tray. What has it been?
It's always what you make of it, as much as possible, but
like when you walk into a room, do they, like when you show up someplace, are they expecting you?
No, almost never. And when you're speak well and you come up with something that seems appropriate, then maybe there's a little bit of surprise, and you get a little more credit than you deserve for being smart. But I think there's a general built-in. There are many built-in biases that we all have that we don't even know, and certainly in business, there's a reason why there's 3% of the CEOs in the Fortune 1000 are women or something like that, and there's almost no women on boards, and it just, as soon as you get above a certain level of senior management, the ranks get really thin. Women don't receive venture capital investments. Essentially, it's a tiny percentage of venture capital that goes to women. Just the whole business world is not built around sort of basic color, gender, other blindness. There's just plenty of bias, and it's through our education system. There are reasons why we end up where we are. And I've, as a woman in business, I've been working to advance people who don't get a fair shake from the get-go, and it's one of my great passions. I've worked with some wonderful colleagues to advance the number of the diversity on boards of directors nationwide, and particularly in Massachusetts, where we've made huge progress. So I've always viewed my role, and the fact that I've been lucky and I landed in great places and I had amazing education and lots of opportunities. I've always considered that to be a gift that I needed to keep on giving to other people, and try to turn it around and use these amazing opportunities I've had to as much as possible, bring other people up and along. And I also am certain from the research that I've read and my own personal experience that when there are more women in a room, more people of color, more people with diverse backgrounds, people with different points of view, different religions, different geographical, or wherever they're from, it always makes a better conversation, and people on a business team make better decisions. It opens up possibilities. And, we were talking earlier about how we all get kind of stuck. Having diverse points of view unsticks you.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. It's bound to. I mean,
Yeah.
only the hardest core people with the biggest blinders on, and we can think of a couple of those right at the moment,
right about now.
You know, only those people aren't impacted by hearing well articulated points of view and alternative experience that they didn't have themselves, but they realize it when they hear it from another person. Oh yeah, that's another way to think about it. And it can't help but go into your consciousness at some level. And the data shows that that is what happens when you have people with multiple and varied points of view, whether it's women or anything. So I believe in that deeply, and enjoy doing that work. I'm doing less of it right now at Chabaso. In Boston, I was so involved with so many different organizations. Honestly, I feel kind of happy to be a little bit under the radar here. Nobody knows I'm here. I'm not on committees and boards.
After today, that will end. Oh, that ends today, my dear.
But you also asked what it's like to be a CEO, and I just never think of myself as a CEO. I think of myself as chief floor sweeper and problem solver. And it's a small company, and we need a lot of things to be done right away, and we don't have enough resources or people ever to cover all of the priorities. So it's a 24/7 operation right now. So we have big ambitions and a lot of work to do.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about next, about the ambition. And like, where do you see Chabaso going? Like what is it about? Like, what is the dream, the biggest, grandest dream for Chabaso?
Well,
and then I don't mean to leave New Haven either. Like,
yeah, no, we're never leaving New Haven. We're here. Our dream.
I don't want the mayor calling me up saying what.
No, we really hope to grow the company here. Maybe over time we make other things as well as bread, and maybe they get built in other places. But right now it's about certainly doubling our throughput in the plant, investing in the plant and making it better, being able to be more cost competitive with our very well-funded, bigger competitors across the country who are in the artisan business. Certainly always doing the best work with the bread, with the people, with the footprint of our activities. So the big dream is using bread to make the world better tomorrow, healthier, happier. And how that plays out is, maybe remains to be seen, but it starts with just doing what we're doing really well, but on a larger scale.
I like that. I mean, I think, artisan bread is aesthetically beautiful.
It is a gorgeous thing.
Right.
Yeah. As an artist, I love
it too. And
infatuated with it.
And as somebody who is deeply religious and has deep spiritual practices, the use of that bread in my religious practices is just holy.
Oh, I'm with you.
Right. It's just
holy. What is more important than having a meaningful conversation with another human being and sharing?
Yes. And breaking bread is.
And breaking bread.
Sitting down with someone over a meal is universal hospitality,
yeah.
Right? So breaking bread is, friendship and sacred and all those things.
I'm so with you. In fact, we want to use our bread to bring people together, and we've launched this thing called Bread Breakers, and we have these little events. We're having more of them, and we hope them over time to have other people jump in. But we invite people with opposing points of view to come and sit down and talk in an unthreatening context. And we don't want them to argue about the thing that they don't agree on. We want them to talk about their lives and share with each other and get to know each other as human beings, even if they are diametrically opposed on the hardest of issues.
Wow.
So
I'd like to sit in on that.
Please, we'd love to have you do some of these with us.
I would love to.
We've started them around New Haven, and we'll fold you in.
Call me.
That is the most powerful thing we can do. You ask, what is the biggest vision? It's this idea that we can impact the health and the happiness and the perhaps even peacefulness of our world by using the product we make.
Well, you know what? This artisan bread is a damn good place to start.
Yeah, not bad.
I can think of some worse things.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
a damn
yeah.
good place to start.
Yeah.
So, Trish, when will you know that you've reached the success for Chabaso? Or have you reached it?
Oh, I think we're succeeding every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we're getting better at what we do. People are happier. We're making more and more beautiful bread. And, it's, I don't ask for more than that. If we move forward every day, that's great.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you balance work life? I don't like balance because, I think balance for women is just a fantasy.
Yeah. People wouldn't necessarily think I was the best advocate in some ways for balance, but because I'm very intense. And so all the things that I do, nobody, like a lot of people don't think any of it's balanced, but that's just me. Mm-hmm. So my balance thing is I'm also, as you know, a painter, and I get out when I can. And I have periods of time when I'll go through, I'm just going to do 10 minutes a day, and I'll make sure I do those. And that's a little bit, I grab mm-hmm. that. But on a larger scale, another thing I do is I'm an athlete, and I race bicycles.
Whoa!
So my training really requires that I stay healthy, that I get sleep, that I eat well, mm-hmm. And then I get on my bike and do my thing. So that's a chunk of it. And then I have family and friends, and I make sure that I carve out time to, even if it's not the most luxurious stretches of time, I really I found some wonderful friends down here, and really happy to spend time with them. So
people you've met, like you've just met and became friends.
In the last couple,
that's what I like about this town. This you can between you can get with pockets of people of like-minded
it's
ways
very
and
rich,
connect and
very rich. I feel like I found my clan down here. Some people that are creative and interesting and accomplished and good-minded. Looking to make a positive impact themselves in the world, and and we love many of the same things and do them together.
And this is a good town to hang around and eat in and see theater and
So
music.
The thing I don't have is any spare time. So that so the balance thing, I don't know. I'm kind of racing from one thing to another. But it works for me. I don't know. I can't really. I wouldn't push it on anybody else. But I was up early this morning doing my intervals.
How early?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm generally up at 6 and on my bike. And that's not too early. But
I'm at my
I'm
gym
working
at 5
till
o'clock.
late. So you're earlier than I am. I don't want to tell you how late I'm on my computer, but I'm really religious about getting to sleep too. So
I'm not. I have to get better with the sleep part.
Oh, it's so important.
I know.
For your brain.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm doing. Although these last few weeks have gotten much better. I've gotten 6 and 7 hours of sleep. Actually, I average about 3 to 4.
Not enough. All the research is that's radically not enough.
Girl, I know.
Bad.
So
I used to be like you.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit of a stress monger, and I was kind of macho about how much I could do on how little sleep. And then the universe sent me a gift and sent me flying off my bicycle. It nearly killed me. And I had a bad brain injury. And I learned that the only thing, I had to get sleep or my brain wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. It was just part of the recovery and part of ongoing maintenance.
Yeah.
So
I don't need the universe to give me that message.
Yeah, you don't have to do it that way. You already know.
So I've been working hard at getting this sleep thing and having, like you, I have a
you have a lot going on.
I have a lot going on, but I have a group of friends where we know this and we self-care and we check in and we dial it back and that kind of thing.
Well, that's great. Yeah, your friends will help keep you in line. Yeah, and you just said it on air. How often have you said that you need to get more sleep and you're going to?
Oh, they know. Yeah. Well, listen, they know. They beat me up about it all the time. So, but I am taking my own medicine. So,
good.
So it's nice to hear you say that. Like, as a because I talk to people who are like you who are. And I rarely hear people say, well, I have to get enough rest. And you saying it is really the universe reminding me that.
And you know what? You need even more as you get older.
as I'm finding that out.
Yeah.
Finding that out. So I appreciate this conversation today, Trisha. I've really enjoyed having you.
Oh, you're
here.
terrific. This has been fun.
And I've enjoyed this. I'm so glad that your team could work this out. That you could come, and I hope you come back.
Oh, sure.
And invite me over there.
Whenever
love this
you're
bread,
ready, come on down.
And I look forward to seeing this new layout of gifting bread.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate you being enthusiastic about it too, because it's a big play for us.
I will certainly send people bread.
Yeah, yay, all right.
So thank
Chabaso.com.
you. Chabaso.com. So listen, all you folks who are out there listening, that's somebody saying good morning. Seda Salinas?
Saida. She works at Chabaso.
Yeah, she's saying good morning.
Oh, hey,
so we're on the Facebook, so I have all the screens up, so people are like, hi.
Oh, how wonderful.
You know, so yeah, so I'm sending her back, Miss Salinas, to y'all. I'm not gonna keep her. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This was
very
a
much.
real pleasure,
Yeah,
and I hope I see you again.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Thank you.
You're gonna come to the bakery.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and then we're gonna break bread together and find people that can't otherwise talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am. Right. I am signed up for that.
Great. All right.
Harry, thank you so much, and I will play us out.